It was just past midnight at the General Hospital, and Leora was struggling to stay awake behind the reception desk. Her head had begun to nod slightly, her eyelids heavy with exhaustion, when the quiet hum of the automatic doors suddenly broke the stillness. Startled, she sat upright and looked toward the entrance. A young woman had just staggered in. She was clutching her stomach with one hand and pressing the other against the wall for support, her face contorted with fear and pain. Her steps were unsteady, and she looked on the verge of collapse. Leora's eyes widened in alarm. She shot up from her seat and hurried over. "Please!" The young woman gasped, her voice strained as she leaned against the wall. "Help me. Something is wrong." Leora immediately wrapped an arm around her shoulder and guided her gently to the nearest chair. "Miss, you're safe now. Just breathe. Can you tell me what's wrong? Are you in pain?" The woman tried to steady her breath, but her body trembled. "Get the doctor," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Please, it's better seen than explained." Leora exchanged a worried glance with another nurse who had walked over, sensing the tension. Without hesitating, Leora reached for the phone and dialed the number for the on-call doctor. Dr. Nessa was in her office, reviewing a stack of patient charts under the soft glow of her desk lamp when the call came in. She had always been the composed type, calm, methodical, focused. But tonight, something in Leora's voice struck a chord that unsettled her. "A woman just arrived at reception," Leora said quickly. "She's in serious distress and insists you come right away. I've never seen anyone this terrified." Dr. Nessa stood up immediately. She grabbed her stethoscope, slung it around her neck, and left her office in long, determined strides. Within a minute, she was in the lobby. There, sitting hunched over in the waiting area, was a young woman. Her face was pale, and her eyes darted around anxiously like a frightened animal cornered in the dark. Dr. Nessa approached her with calm authority. "Hi, I'm Dr. Nessa. Can you tell me what happened? What's going on?" The woman looked up slowly, her lips quivering. "Please, I can't explain it," she murmured. "You need to see for yourself. Just, please help me." Dr. Nessa crouched down slightly to meet her eyes. "All right," she said gently. "Let's take you to the examination room and get to the bottom of this." In the sterile white room, Dr. Nessa helped her onto the examination table. The woman's hands were gripping the sides tightly, her knuckles white with tension. Her breathing was shallow and sweat had begun to form at her temples. "Let's start slow," Dr. Nessa said reassuringly. "What's your name?" "Katie," she whispered. "My name is Katie." "All right, Katie. I'm going to perform a quick exam to see what's causing you this much pain. Just point to where it hurts." Katie avoided her gaze, clearly humiliated. After a long pause, she motioned weakly toward her lower abdomen. It's down there," she said with difficulty. "Please, just take a look. I don't know what else to do." Dr. Nessa nodded and moved with professional composure, despite feeling a quiet unease creeping into her chest. She had dealt with all sorts of conditions, but she wasn't ready for what she was about to witness. As Katie positioned herself, Dr. Nessa leaned in and immediately recoiled in shock. Her breath caught. "Oh my God. Squirming white maggots, barely visible to the naked eye, moved grotesquely inside Katie's most intimate area. It was a scene so horrific and unexpected that even a seasoned professional like Dr. Nessa felt the chill of dread crawling down her spine. Katie began sobbing, clutching the doctor's wrist. "Please help me," she cried. "I don't know what's happening to me. I'm scared. I don't want to die." Dr. Nessa closed her eyes for a second and took a deep breath. She steeled herself. "You're not going to die, Katie," she said firmly, "but I need you to stay calm so I can help you." Katie nodded desperately, her face streaked with tears. Dr. Nessa administered a painkiller injection and began cleaning the area meticulously. Every movement was careful, every thought racing with questions. What could have caused this? How did it start? Was it parasitic? Fungal? Some kind of sabotage? When she had done all she could for the moment, she pulled up a chair and sat beside Katie, who was now breathing more steadily. "Katie, this is extremely rare," Dr. Nessa said carefully. "I've done what I can to ease the pain and stop the spread for now, but I need more information to understand the root cause." Katie wiped her face with the back of her hand. "It started 5 days ago," she said slowly. "There was this odd smell, and I felt irritated down there. I thought it was an infection. I kept washing, but nothing worked. Then the things appeared, and it just kept getting worse." "Did you change anything recently?" Dr. Nessa asked. "New soap? Lotions? Diet? Medication?" Katie shook her head. Everything's been normal." "You mentioned you're a student. Are you living in a hostel or somewhere with shared facilities?" Katie shook her head again, more firmly this time. "I live alone. I'm very clean. I always have been." Dr. Nessa lowered her voice. "Are you sexually active?" Katie hesitated. "Yes," she replied eventually. "When was the last time you had intercourse?" "About a week ago," Katie answered, "with my boyfriend. His name is Mark." Dr. Nessa made a mental note. The timeline was concerning. "So, symptoms started 2 days after your time with him. Has he shown any signs of illness?" "No," Katie said. "But he's been acting different. I asked him about this when it started, and he just dismissed it. He told me I was overthinking." Dr. Nessa frowned. "Katie, I need you to be honest. Has anything at all changed in your relationship lately? Any emotional shifts? Stress? Arguments?" Katie swallowed. "Well, I did feel like he was pulling away, like he wasn't really present anymore. We didn't argue, but he was colder than usual. I thought it was just stress. I didn't think it could be connected." Dr. Nessa leaned forward slightly. "Katie, I need you to tell me everything, even if it feels unrelated. Has anything at all changed in your life recently? Maybe in your relationship? Anything that might have brought this on?" Katie's face grew tense, and she inhaled deeply, as if preparing herself for something painful. "It's Mark," she began. "He changed. He used to be warm and supportive, someone who always stood by me, no matter how hard things got. But now, I barely recognize him. He spends all his time with these flashy friends. Men who have money, connections, influence. It's like he's obsessed with becoming one of them." Dr. Nessa leaned forward slightly, her brow furrowed in thought. Have you noticed anything else strange about him lately? Anything that seems off?" Katie looked away, a sad expression settling across her features. "Not much, other than the things he says. He always talks about how he's tired of being broke, how he wants to rise above where we came from. He says it constantly, like it's eating him alive. But as far as actions go, he never did anything that looked illegal or dangerous. He just wanted more." Nessa felt the stirrings of a deeper intuition, one that tugged at the edges of science and reason. She'd heard stories, urban legends really, about people making dark sacrifices to attain wealth or success. As much as her logical mind rejected them, what she had witnessed in Katie couldn't be explained by medicine alone. The following morning, still troubled by what she had seen, Nessa decided to seek a second opinion. She went to consult Dr. Alex, the hospital's senior gynecologist, a man respected not just for his medical expertise, but for his open-mindedness when faced with strange and unexplainable cases. Sitting in his quiet office, Nessa recounted every detail, sparing nothing. "I've seen plenty of bizarre infections and diseases," she said, "but this one, it felt almost unreal. It's like something out of a bad dream. I don't know how else to put it." Dr. Alex frowned as he listened, tapping a pen against the edge of his desk. "That's unsettling," he admitted. "And if I'm being completely honest, it reminds me of some cases I've only ever heard whispered about. Things that never make it into medical journals." Nessa leaned in. "Are you talking about spiritual interference?" Alex nodded slowly, his voice dropping to a hush. "Some believe, and there's anecdotal evidence, that certain spiritual attacks manifest physically, through rituals, curses, even through people close to the victim. You said Katie mentioned her boyfriend, Mark. It might be worth exploring if he's involved in something beyond what we consider ordinary." Nessa felt a chill race down her spine. "You really think that's possible?" "I think," Alex said carefully, "that if conventional explanations fail, we owe it to the patient to at least consider the unconventional." Later that afternoon, Nessa returned to Katie's room. She pulled a chair closer and sat beside her, the concern in her voice evident. "Katie, I need you to trust me with what I'm going to say. I want to help you, truly. But I need to understand more about your relationship with Mark. Everything, even the things that don't seem important." Katie lowered her gaze, a fresh tear rolling down her cheek. "I met Mark last year. We were both struggling, broke, hustling, barely making it. But we connected instantly. It felt like we were on the same path. And for the first time in my life, I had someone who genuinely understood me." Nessa nodded, encouraging her softly. "What changed?" "About 3 months ago," Katie began, her voice quieter now. "He started hanging out with these new friends. They looked rich. Nice cars, fancy clothes, all of that. At first, I thought he was lucky, but the more I observed them, the more I realized something wasn't right." "What do you mean?" Nessa asked, her interest piqued. Katie hesitated. "There was one night. He came home late. His demeanor had shifted. His eyes looked cold, almost hollow. He told me he was tired of being poor, that he'd found a way out. I asked him what he meant, but he didn't answer directly. He just said, 'Whatever it takes, I'm going to be rich.' And I believed him. He wasn't joking. Did he ever explain what that meant? Nessa asked. He just started acting different, paranoid, distant. I told him not all that glitters is gold, but he didn't want to hear it. He wouldn't even look at me properly after that. Nessa exhaled and leaned back slightly. Katie, I know this may sound strange, but I believe something might have happened, something you're not aware of. I think whatever Mark is involved in might be connected to what's happening to you. Katie's eyes widened. You think he did this to me? I'm not saying that outright, Nessa said, choosing her words carefully. But we need answers, and there might be a way to get them. Katie leaned forward slightly, curious and nervous. What way? I want you to call Mark, Nessa said. Pretend nothing's wrong. Be gentle, casual. Ask him how he's doing. Mention you've been sick, but don't accuse him of anything. Just talk. If he says anything strange, we'll be listening. If he acts suspicious or defensive, try to gently push him to talk more. If he reacts emotionally, it might tell us something. Katie's breath caught in her throat. You want me to lie to him? I want you to talk, Nessa replied calmly. That's all. Keep it light. If he thinks you suspect something, he might shut down. But if he feels in control, he might let something slip. Katie paused, then nodded slowly. All right, I'll do it. Whatever it takes. Nessa handed her a small voice recorder. Keep this nearby. We'll be able to listen afterward. They dialed Mark's number. Katie held the phone to her ear, heart pounding as the line rang. After a few moments, his voice came through, relaxed, casual, like nothing had changed. Katie, hey, didn't expect to hear from you. Katie forced a small smile as she replied, Hey, Mark, I haven't been feeling too well lately. Thought I'd check in. There was a pause on the line. You're not feeling fine? He asked with a cool tone. What do you mean? Katie blinked slowly, trying to keep her tone steady despite the tension tightening her chest. It's hard to explain. I've been going through some things, strange things. I thought maybe you'd know something about it. There was a silence on the other end of the line. Her fingers curled tighter around the phone. Then, finally, Mark laughed. A hollow, chilling sound that made her skin prickle. Katie, don't be dramatic. If you're sick, go get some sleep or see a doctor. But Katie pressed on, carefully keeping her voice calm. But Mark, this started after we were together last week. I don't understand it. I thought maybe you knew something. His tone turned cold in an instant. Katie, you're asking too many questions. Her heart sank. She could feel the distance in his voice, the complete absence of care. This wasn't the man she had known. Something inside him had shifted. If there's anything you're hiding from me, she whispered, her voice breaking slightly, please, I need to know. He sighed sharply, a sound that was equal parts annoyance and exhaustion. Fine, you want the truth? He snapped. I was done living like a nobody, Katie. I needed a way out, a chance to change everything. And you were just in the right place at the right time. Katie froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Her worst fears were materializing. What did you do to me, Mark? She asked, her voice trembling. A cold chuckle came through the phone, devoid of emotion. Nothing personal, Katie. You were just useful. Some of us want more from life, and, well, you helped make that happen. You were my offering. Katie's hands shook violently. She had trusted him, shared her dreams, her body, everything, and now he had used her like she meant nothing. Doctor Nessa, who had been silently listening from across the room, met Katie's eyes and gave a small nod. The recorder in her hand had captured everything. Katie slowly ended the call, still trembling, still trying to accept what she had just heard. Nessa no longer had doubts. Katie's affliction wasn't merely medical. It had crossed into something darker. She knew she had to seek help beyond science. Later that afternoon, Nessa drove Katie to her church to meet with Pastor Ethan, a kind and discerning man known for helping those caught in spiritual bondage. Katie sat quietly as Ethan listened intently to her recount the events. His eyes were focused, his face calm, but his spirit was alert. "Katie," he said gently after she finished, "what you're going through is the result of a spiritual transaction. Mark offered you as part of a ritual. What you feel in your body is not ordinary. It's a curse, and by its nature it is meant to destroy. But you are not without hope." Tears welled in Katie's eyes. "Please, Pastor, I don't want to die. I'll do anything." Pastor Ethan nodded with resolve. "There is a way to break this," he said. "You must cling to God now more than ever. Start by reading and praying specific psalms every midnight, the hour when spiritual battles are most intense. Begin with Psalms 35, 91, and 109. These are prayers of divine protection and judgment." He laid his hands on her gently and prayed over her before she returned to the hospital. That night, Katie sat on the cold floor of her room, her hospital gown wrapped tightly around her. Her Bible was open on her lap. She began to read Psalm 35 aloud. "Contend, Lord, with those who contend with me. Fight against those who fight against me." As she continued, a strange calm began to settle in the room. The fear that had consumed her started to lift, replaced by a subtle warmth she couldn't explain. She went on to Psalm 91, then Psalm 109, her voice gaining strength with every line. At midnight, she prayed with all her heart, asking for mercy, deliverance, and healing. In the days that followed, something miraculous began to happen. The pain began to ease. The horrifying symptoms vanished. The medical staff was stunned, none more so than Dr. Nessa, who had watched helplessly as science failed her patient. Now, she witnessed healing she couldn't logically explain. Together, Katie and Nessa took the recording of Mark's confession to the police. An official report was filed, and an investigation was opened immediately. When the police arrived at Mark's apartment, they were shocked by what they found. Mark was sitting outside on the ground, his hair disheveled, clothes torn, his eyes vacant. He was mumbling incoherently, unable to form a single rational thought. It was as though his mind had snapped, as if the same dark forces he had called upon had turned against him. He was quickly taken into custody and transferred to a psychiatric facility for evaluation. Katie was discharged a few days later. Her health had been restored. but her heart was still healing. Before leaving the hospital, she visited Doctor Nessa's office one last time. "I don't know how to thank you," she said, her voice full of emotion. "You didn't just treat me. You believed me. You saved me in ways I can't even explain." Nessa smiled and took her hand. "You saved yourself, Katie. You were brave enough to face the truth and fight for your life. That strength came from you." Katie nodded slowly, her heart full of gratitude and newfound clarity. "I never imagined I would survive, especially not after learning what Mark had done. I loved him. I trusted him, but I was just a pawn." Nessa's eyes softened. "Betrayal like that can cut deep, but it doesn't define who you are. You survived, and that means you still have purpose. You've been given another chance." Katie exhaled. "I feel like something heavy has been lifted off me, like I can breathe again." Together, they visited the police station for a follow-up. They learned that Mark had been formally charged, and the evidence, including the recording and testimonies from both Nessa and Pastor Ethan, had been pivotal in building the case. He would face trial when he was deemed mentally fit, but for now he remained under close observation at the psychiatric ward. Katie eventually resumed her studies, this time with a deeper sense of purpose. She made a firm decision to prioritize her faith and set personal boundaries. No more reckless trust, no more empty love. She even vowed not to be involved in another intimate relationship until she was married. She continued to keep in close contact with Dr. Nessa, who had become more than a doctor. She was now like an older sister and a lifelong friend. Thank you for listening to Katie's journey. If this story touched you in any way, feel free to share your thoughts below. Don't forget to share with others and subscribe for more stories of hope and redemption. Stay blessed.